And welcome to live streaming event. Guys, with Parks and Rec, this is Real Talk. This is John Rawlings, and I want to first off welcome all the listeners. And if you have any questions or comments to make during the presentation, go ahead and feel free to make them. And I want to let my guests go ahead and introduce themselves. They've been on before prior, but I'll start with Shelby. Go ahead, Shelby.
Hi, John. Thanks so much for having us today. My name is Shelby Mendelson, and I am the Recreation Manager for Northport Parks and Recreation Department.
And my name is Lindsey Stratton. I am the Assistant Aquatics Manager for Northport Parks and Recreation. And yeah, like Shelby said, thanks so much for having us on here today.
Absolutely. You know what? I look forward to always having Parks and Rec on. I'm up in Indiana with my granddaughters, and we do a game called park hunting. And so we started this years ago, and we go park to park to park, and we spend 20 minutes at each park, and we describe what's at each park as we're going to the next one. Gosh, in Northport, we could get lost doing that.
Yes.
We'll start by highlighting how many parks do we have?
So in our park system, we have different variations, right? So we have complexes, we have smaller parks, we have sort of all sorts. It's around a little bit more than 30 individual parks currently, but we continue to grow and expand on that number. Recently, we just implemented the new Boca Chica neighborhood park. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to go check that one out. It's off of Boca Chica Avenue. Oh man, it's probably one of my favorite parks. It's considered a passive park, so the thought process behind it was making sure that there was a space that blended into the surrounding area. We have a storybook stroll on it. All of the playground equipment is very naturalistic, wood looking. It's almost like a tree house. So we're really excited to do some programming out there. And I think the community has been very receptive to this new park location.
You know, I'm glad you put programming in early on this, because we are going to talk about some spring break, different events out there, the Aquatic Center and drowning prevention, different things like that. We're going to really dive into that. But awesome. One of the things I want to point out as I travel with my granddaughters and take them park to park to park elsewhere, Cuyahoga Falls, it was interesting there because they didn't have much of a platform for parks. They had decent little parks, but they really didn't have what we have. And then we went over to other communities and found out some pretty amazing things. But I got to tell you, being 62 and having granddaughters and being blessed to have taken them to the park systems that we have in Northport, I got to give you guys a lot of kudos, because we make other communities jealous. We do, because I point these things out to them, and I showcase what we are. Not what we want to be, but what we are. And I find that to be amazing when you start talking with other representation from other parks, other park employees from other communities. Do you guys feel that same way?
Yeah, and I'll let Lindsey jump in here as well. But I know that our park maintenance team, specifically when we're looking at all of these outdoor parks, they care so much. I think that's what sets apart our Northport team, is they care because they live, work, and play here. So they have their grandkids or their kids that are also utilizing these park systems. And so they take their jobs very seriously. We have certified playground inspectors. We ensure that training is done. So we have a high level of park safety out in the parks, making sure that all of our inspections are done, so on and so forth. But then we also have the community centers and the aquatic center as well. Those parks, it's the same thing. Those staff really care truly about what the offerings are and what we put forward to the community.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Shelby really hit it on the head. The passion that the employees, within our department have, it really shows with the work and the different facilities, amenities, everything that the city has to offer here. A program or a park is just as good as, the passion that gets put into it. And that's why I really believe we do have some of the very best playgrounds, parks, facilities, programs, events, in Florida, if not some of the nation.
I can't begin to tell you how much I can brag There are people in our community that consider bragging about our community and what our political side of things gives us. And I put you guys in that same bracket because it is political, because it's part of civic duty. It's part of what you guys do to give back, as far as the tax dollars and the wise spending of that, and to give the foundation to the whole community as we stand now. Andrew McCarthy strongly disagrees. I don't know what for. Obviously, he's got a bad taste in his mouth about something. But if there's a question, Anthony, feel free to give it, or a reason to strongly disagree with the park system is. I don't even know how to answer that appropriately anymore, because when you travel state to state, city to city, and you look at what other communities have to offer, we are abnormally strong with young people in the state of Florida. If we don't give a strong parks and recreation system, then we're actually doing a huge disservice to the age bracket they were centered on providing it to. And I've talked to a lot of seniors who go to a lot of the aquatic center stuff. They participated at the Morgan Center, which is amazing. Gives them an opportunity as seniors to go somewhere where it's affordability, to have the gym access, to have the aquatic access, and even to do the laps and swim in the pool area and get that exercise in. So we're kind of focused on not just the senior base in Florida, but the city of Northport has actually kind of dove in, so to speak, with the aquatic center and participated across the board. Highlight something about the aquatic center and the drowning side of the education that comes with even the kids in school, because of what you guys do with that program.
Yeah, so I love that you brought that up. So we're actually gearing up for the month of May. The month of May is National Drowning Prevention Month. And it's also when we have our MayDay and Splash into Summer event here at the Aquatic Center. So our MayDay Drowning Prevention Expo happens during our Splash into Summer event, and that's where Northport residents can get free admission into the park. All they have to do is just bring a proof of residency for that. And then during this expo, we have multiple different drowning prevention partners and vendors on site giving information, tips, tricks, resources, and promoting different products on drowning prevention and, how to be safe in, on, and around the water. In Florida, we have so much water, the canals, pools, obviously the ocean, the beaches, everything like that. So it really is super important. And John, thank you for also highlighting this. We work with schools in Sarasota County here in Northport, and we actually give each second grader is able to participate in a week of swim lessons. And that's through our Manda swim program. So that's a really awesome program. And for me in aquatics, nothing really beats being able to see a child on day one. They come in and they're nervous, they're afraid to get in the water, and on day 5, they can actually float. You can put your head in the water, because those really are those life-saving skills, and nothing beats that for me. That's a top thing here.
Awesome. So Andrew did respond back, which I'm glad he did. All right. Because Andrew, this is the only way things can get highlighted. But Andrew McCarthy obviously has a girl or supports the girls team over at the softball fields, Narramore. Can you talk about the Narramore Park and how it's maintained in accordance to the Atwater baseball? And correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I'm misunderstanding it too, but I believe that a lot of the Atwater baseball parents and that organization itself puts a lot of time and energy into the field too, don't they? But maybe you can explain it better than I can. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So when we look at Atwater versus Narramore, there are some differences. Also, Hurricane Ian really took a toll on Narramore softball fields. With that, there was a good amount of work being done, and I've had the opportunity to talk to our park maintenance team in the past, and they've explained some of the work that still needs to be done out at Narramore. But the fields were built at different times. There's a good amount of capital improvement projects that go into these fields and everything that it takes to maintain them and to oversee them. So there's just some very distinct differences between those. But I will tell you, we have a really great park maintenance team that is always looking for feedback, happy to answer questions, happy to have those meetings as well to sort of talk through some of those items. Unfortunately, another big struggle we have here in Northport is the need for more fields. So we always encourage our leagues to come forward and talk about the need for those fields. We have several soccer players. You mentioned softball. We also have baseball, football. We have all of these organizations that have a multitude of needs. And I think that's really true to say when we talk about the value and the essentialness of the services that we provide. There's a lot of conversation of, the quality of life services and where they outweigh. But when we look and we see the value that it's bringing to these sports teams, I think it's extremely crucial that we implement those continued efforts to have funding to be able to support those areas.
So I'm gonna stay with the just for a few minutes. I'm gonna stay with the softball field. So we've with the hurricane damage, we're still battling that. We just had the station itself be tore down, but that was a lot related to hurricane damage itself. We've had lots of buildings that have had that same damage across the board. But let's stay with what Andrew is concerned about for a second. How do we focus in on Atwater? Or not, Narramore, I'm sorry. I got him confused. How do we stay focused on Narramore to get the needs addressed there? What would you suggest Andrew do? He has said he has reached out. I did not know that the parents could not help take care of the field. My sons have been gone for quite a while. They're 36 now. So catch me up on how things should progress, and maybe you can give some direction along the way to Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest step in having those conversations is really working with our park maintenance team and working with that team to be able to distinguish what the concerns and those areas of concerns are. So my advice would be to continue to have that reaching out point. I can certainly pass along that there is still some concerns regarding Narramore and the status of some variables, if we can please reach out, but really having those conversations is key. The other piece is that is correct. We really cannot have individuals that are not staff paid by the city working on those fields, because at the end of the day, we are liable for what is taking place on those fields and the field conditions. So it's imperative that we have the proper staff, proper equipment out there able to maintain those fields. And ultimately, we really do look to have a really great relationship with the leagues. We do have annual biannual league meetings as well that we always encourage the groups to come out to. We have some attendance, but other months we just don't have that attendance. So really just being involved, but coming with actionable items and also understanding that there are stipulations and trepidations that we have to take care of on our end to be able to see those things come to fruition. So I really think it's more so of a collaborative effort in having those conversations.
Is there a process in place for Andrew? I'm trying to help here a little bit, navigate some of this stuff he's putting on the screen, because I do want to help, because I know that you guys want to help at the same time. Is there something specific? He says he's met with staff one-on-one. Is there and he's probably done this, maybe a list that he should put together, quarterly meetings. Andrew, I'm not going to put negative. Let's build positive. So Shelby, because this is the first I've heard of it, so I want to try to help. I'll talk to you in a minute. My granddaughter came
No worries. Another great piece that he could look into is the North Report app. If he sees something, we definitely want to know about it. So he definitely should be utilizing the North Report app to go through those items. A list is great. If he has a list together and he's able to come out to one of those biannual league meetings, that's a great option. And also his liaison. I'm not sure if he is the contact for this organization or just a parent for the organization. However, any of the concerns that they have really need to go through their athletic league director, and we deal with them in terms of reservations and processes. So I would definitely encourage you to loop in. I'm sorry.
Maybe he'll post whether he's done that or not.
Okay.
So that, do you know who that contact is at for Naramore?
That would be his coach, whoever the coach is for his daughter, whoever the board president is. I believe he's referencing Miss Northport Fast Pitch. So the board president for Miss Northport Fast Pitch.
Maybe next month, maybe we can highlight some of those things and maybe address them. I don't know. I know that you guys care enough that you don't want to push this under the rug. I know what you guys are about.
And it sounds like he has had a one-on-one meeting, so maybe there's follow-up questions to that. So park maintenance staff would be really the ones who could answer those questions in terms of improvements, where we started, where we're at. I know that we're wrapping up all of our Hurricane Ian damages at this time, which is super exciting on that note, because that was a good amount of projects that needed to be completed. But yeah, that would be my recommendation for sure.
And I would imagine that some of that hurricane damage, because of how the funding works, we're still currently waiting on reimbursement.
That's correct. Yep.
So that's got to be a strategic play in some of this too. And it's interesting because I'm glad Andrew has brought it up and put it out there, because, we talk about how important things are to the community, but everything can't get done at the same time either. There is a lot to manage. We're still managing to try to get anything done at Warm Mineral Springs, and that's been a long time coming.
I will say there's a lot of exciting news with Warm Mineral Springs. I'm sure Lindsey could get into with what those next steps are.
Awesome. Well, let's highlight a couple things that I know you guys wanted to get out. And Andrew, I appreciate you posting these things. Let's see. I do have a past. I was a board member for 9 years. Continued. I want to help you. I'm sure that the staff wants to help you. So let's. My cell phone number. Write it down: 941-391-4663. Feel free to call me. I want to get educated. I don't want to have a blank conversation, and I'll help wherever I can. Whatever it takes, let's keep our park and recreations moving forward. So let's talk a little bit about the spring break camp and how successful it was.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just wrapped up our first ever spring break camp. So this was a camp that we have not previously offered. However, it was very much identified. We talked a lot about needs today, right? There's so many needs that the community has, understandably so. Our goal is to meet as many of those needs as we can, and childcare is a huge one for us. So we'll talk in a little bit about our summer camp program, but we have been asked for years and years, when are you guys going to do spring break? How are we going to do spring break? So we finally took care of that this year. We had a full enrollment, so we had a full camp that we were able to service, which was super exciting. And something I really wanted to highlight today about our spring break camp was the opportunity we had outside of the George Mullen Activity Center. We now have a little garden area that my team gets to oversee in recreation. We do a lot of our Go Green with Parks, BioBlitz programs. All of those programs sort of loop together, and we're now able to have a little bit of a garden that we're able to do different activities. So again, one of those big community needs that we get is green programming. People in Northport, they want to be outside, they want to be active, they want to be in their natural environment, identifying native species, looking at ways in which they can grow different items. So we were able to have our spring break campers utilize that space a little bit. They did some gardening. They had some enrichment activities, which is a huge piece for all of our camp programs, making sure we're providing that where they were able to focus on green programming. So The spring break camp, the team has told me it was a success. We were super happy with the turnout for it, and we're excited to continue offering this in the future.
Awesome. Anything to add, Lindsey?
No, I think Shelby definitely hit it exactly how it is. We're really excited to offer that spring break camp this year, and the team definitely put off an amazing camp for all the kiddos.
Fantastic. So let's talk about the MPAC and the spring hours there.
Awesome. Yeah. So the North Port Aquatic Center, we call it NPAC. That's right. We are operating in our spring hours right now. Basically, this means that the water park features are open on the weekends now. Today's actually our last day of spring break. So starting tomorrow will be when we go into our spring hours. Yeah, we had really good spring break, great turnout. And so the spring hours will be open on the weekends from 10 to 5 for the water park portion of it. So that includes our lazy river, the 3 slides, our Pelican playground area, and the competition pool, and the diving boards are in there too. And then Tuesday through Friday will be when the competition pool is only open. So Tuesday through Friday, while the kids are still in school, the water park side of the park is closed, but the competition heated pool is still open. So, attendees that want to come and hang out with us at the pool, they can do that. It's just the water park on the weekends solely. And then we'll actually switch into summer hours on May 28th when school's out. And then we'll be open 7 days a week, full facility. So water park, competition pool, everything all the way through till August 9th.
Well, the Aquatic Center is a staple of our community now.
Absolutely.
I remember the battle. Okay. I'm so glad that battle is over with, because the flip side of the battle is, look at how many kids' lives have been changed. I don't want to say saved. I want to say changed. They've been introduced to water. They've been introduced to water safety. There's a lot of pluses that go into this. Charlotte County has the same style program. A lot of communities do. And the fact that we have a pool to do it in now, that actually is functionable, and an aquatic center that really, I think, highlights our community very well, for the age bracket that we're serving. Let's talk a little bit about Kids Day Out, which is really rapidly approaching. How does that play into all the park system?
Yeah, so we actually just had Kids Day Out today. Going back to that childcare need, and we have another one coming up on April 3rd. But going back to that childcare need, it was identified that, hey, sometimes there's professional days, which our teachers so deserve and definitely need, but parents don't always have the day off on those professional days. So what we do is we now encourage kids to come have the day out with us. They get to have a little bit of fun. We do some programming. We do outside activities. We do lunch, we do reading, we do all different types of activities that the kids are able to have in a supervised, safe environment for the day, and allow families to still operate on their normal schedule without having any hindrance from professional days or those types of items. It's proven to be very successful. We've started to see some more traction as the year has gone on with those professional days, and we hope to see those continue as we progress through.
We've got a lot that happens within our park structure. And I know Andrew talked about Narramore and Atwater. Those are highlighted areas, but look at how I guess the addition of oh gosh, went out of my head. What is it? Soccer, it is, and I'm tired. I'm mentally drained. We've got the soccer fields, we've got Atwater, and we've got the oh my gosh,
football fields, Larry T.
Yes, we got Larry T. We've got all those things that are happening there, but they're condensed. They're in that same area, but they're all different in that regard. You've got football separated, you've got the aquatic center, you've got the soccer fields, you've got Narramore, and you've got Atwater. Those are, I would say, probably the most, I don't want to say active, but the most changing of people coming and going on a Saturday or Sunday when those parks are utilized at their ultimate level, whether it be tournaments or so forth. But that's a lot of activity on a weekly basis to track in our community, isn't it?
It's a good amount of activity, and we actually work to identify through some data software and some other forms how many people are utilizing those fields. So we're excited to see as the year continues sort of where we land off with that. It's a bit of a newer item that we're looking into. But like I talked about, field utilization is huge here in Northport. So we take field requests essentially start because we have to make sure we prioritize, right? So we have had long-standing groups utilizing these fields. We have new groups that are forming, which is awesome. But we really want to make sure that we remain fair and equitable to all of those organizations based on their size, demographic, where they're located, how many Northport residents they have. So we take a lot of factors into account as we go through those. But just by the requests alone, I can tell you very much so that those fields are pretty packed over the weekend. And if they're not packed one day, then they're packed the next day. So we have a pretty good flow. We have a good sort of prioritization about making sure that we give everyone mostly what they need, give and take a little bit here and there, but the utilization is quite high. And we're very excited. We have Dallas White Park that is now going to have a multi-purpose field, which is something that we very much need. So that's a rectangular field. So that can be used for soccer, football, which is a huge need in the community. We have a good amount of people like to play soccer in Northport. Not sure if you knew that, but both youth and adult. Yeah. So it's very popular here in Northport, as well as the other sports, but we just want to make sure that we continue to grow and utilize those fields for the needs that we have.
So you've got a lot to track, a lot going on, all these other events outside of what we're talking about today. You guys participating in those too. You're gearing up for summer camps.
Yeah.
I know we always look for counselors or lifeguards or different things like that. Yeah. How do you guys go about that? And what would you suggest that people do or the younger generation do to maybe get involved?
Yeah, for us,
sure.
Outreach. So as many places as we can get to find these young individuals, sometimes young individuals that are looking for work, that are looking to start their career maybe with the city, starting with us, with looking to look into a different department in the future. The more we can get out into the community to talk to them about the benefits of starting in Parks and Recreation, and then also the opportunities in working with Parks and Recreation for an extended period of time. So outreach for us is huge. We're very lucky from camp counselor side point that we have a good amount of returning counselors. So we have individuals that really have that buy-in. They're excited to see the kids the next summer. And then we have some that are moving on into the next phase of life that we have to find new support for. So for us, outreach is huge. We are currently looking to continue to find all of our head camp counselors and our camp counselors for the upcoming summer. But for our summer camp program, it's 10 weeks. We start on June 1st and we go through August 7th. We have our GMAC program, which is our elementary age program. So that's 1st through 5th graders. And then all the cool kids, they love it, but it's teen camp. They get to go over in 6th grade. They all talk about it. They get very excited when they're approaching that threshold of getting to move up to teen extreme camp. But that's over at the Morgan Family Community Center. And both camps have a very robust enrichment program. We look at different activities that are going to be done throughout the day. The team works extremely hard to make sure that the themes are engaging, they're what the kids want to be doing, and that we have their involvement throughout the course of that 10 weeks, because it is a big 10 weeks. And safety is our number one priority, but fun is also what we're here for, to make sure that they have a fulfilling camp experience. So,
yep. Well, there's a name that comes to mind, and you guys know him. And I don't know your backgrounds as much as I know his, because he's talked to me about it live on the air and in person. But Devon has come through the school system at Northport, and then into the Parks and Rec, and now he's management. He's a superstar for me. Not in the regard that I think he's more special than anybody else, but look at what you can do if you put your mind to it and you participate in your youth and you work your way through. So there's a lot of opportunity for kids to stay local. And I've heard parents say this on multiple levels, that there's nothing for our kids to bring back here. We've got Nancy DiCarlo's child, who is an attorney now, who has come back into the area, who's an attorney now and starting up her own business. And she graduated with my son, or in John and Michael in 08. So we have a lot of youth coming back to our area in different forms now. And what I find interesting is he's the superstar that chose a different path and chose to go with the city of Northport, which is fantastic because of how he's managed to move in to his position currently. And I watch him present at City Hall, and he is very professional at what he is doing. And he's learning well because we've got great management helping guide you guys. And I say you guys, and I'm grouping you all together, but what would, we're talking about the addition of more people, more counselors. This is how you get involved and find your path in life, maybe without college or maybe a combination thereof. So I would highly encourage anybody out there to share this information, get it in front of the youth, get it in front of anybody that's interested, because you don't know where your path is going to go within the city. And there's a lot of opportunity. I brag about us because I talk to the police department, I talk to Public Works, I talk to the fire department, and the chiefs are doing great work. The managements are doing great skill sets, but there's a multi-level employment opportunity within the city of Northport. And to me, it just screams opportunity. I again, bragging here a little bit, but it's easy to brag when you've got a great foundation to brag about. So let's talk a little bit about something that I push my granddaughters to do up here, and they're doing it at the Y now, which is a little bit of swim lessons along with the drowning prevention that comes along with that, is taking the fear out of the swimming and any of these other things that we're talking about. There's always a fear with the younger generation of involvement. But let's talk about the drowning side of it, because I find that to be very important, along with the fact that we're giving that week of education to our younger generation. So it's really changed that platform since the Aquatic Center is open.
Yeah, with the swim lessons, we offer multiple sessions throughout the year. Our swim instructors, they're actually certified water safety instructors through the American Red Cross. So it's not just, a random person trying to give instruction. They're professional instructors and have curriculum they follow to make sure that we're advancing those skill sets the proper way to learn, if it's a preschool class or a learn to swim, children's age class where they're learning foundational skills all the way to stroke development, and then eventually, becoming on part of a swim team one day. But we really are encouraging, anyone that's able to start, as young as 6 months, we can start swim lessons. And then we've had, plenty of adults come in, it's on their bucket list and they want to learn to swim, and they come with us, and, we offer private lessons. We also offer group lessons. And we're really proud. We just are joining. We're part of the Centennial program through the American Red Cross too, which enables us to be able to offer even more swim lessons. So our commitment to swim lessons here in the city, and especially here at the Aquatic Center, is, so strong. It's one of our core values that we want to make sure that every child has the opportunity to learn to swim, to refine any of their swimming skills. So our next session of swim lessons is actually April 14th. And then we offer a session in May, June, and actually 2 in June we offer. So if anyone is looking to sign up, it's as simple as just calling the front office here and being able to sign up online. We do swim evaluations to see where a child or an adult might be within the levels. So we make sure everybody's paired, with the right group appropriately to be able to give those swim lessons. And then on top of that, I was talking a little bit about that, the Drowning Prevention Expo in May. That is another time, we really promote these swim lessons and promote water safety. We actually have Josh the Otter, one of the mascots for swim lessons, that he's going to be present on site that day, and kind of teaching kids how important it is to float on your back like an otter in any, emergency situations that could happen. So that's really awesome. We were actually one of the first providers for Float for Life lessons to teach children how to swim, to float on their back in Florida. So another thing we're super proud of, just goes to show how much we really are pushing forward with swim lessons and being able to offer as many lessons as possible to as many kids and getting people involved. We offer scholarships too. So, when people are coming up to the front, they can ask about those scholarships if, the finances is a barrier to get into them. But currently, as it is, residents are of Northport, they're $45, and then non-residents are $55. And that covers 6 classes. So it's 6 classes in a session. And those classes are each 30 minutes. So lots of instruction time with a certified swim instructor to be able to give that professional level of swim instruction.
Awesome. MayDay. What's happening there?
So our Splash into Summer and MayDay Drowning Prevention Expo is on Saturday, May 9th. We're open 10 to 5 that day. And like I was saying, that is our day that we give admission for free. We do that once a year to Northport residents. So anyone in Northport, it is first come, first serve, when we're getting to capacity and stuff. But anybody with that Northport residency, they just can bring a proof of residency. So their ID, a tax bill, water bill. And then we, admit them into the facility for free that day. So we can make sure they can check it out, see what the facility has to offer. We run into so many people that, live in Northport and they've never been to the Aquatic Center. And I'm like, how? It's so awesome here. So that's a chance for them to really experience, how great the Aquatic Center is, and the staff that we have here, and then see all the awesome programs that we have coming up, all the programs that we'll have in the fall and the winter, all the swim lesson options, and be able to get part of that. And while they're there, we also pair it with, like I said, our Drowning Prevention Expo, our MayDay Drowning Prevention Expo. And that's when we're also going to be having those local vendors and water safety vendors on site to be able to provide even more information on drowning prevention and awareness, so that we really hit home how to be safe, in, on, and around the water here in Florida.
And, we talked about this a little bit earlier, which was the counselors and what lifeguarding situations lead to. Seasonal lifeguarding opportunities. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we are hiring seasonal lifeguards. Like Shelby, we have lots of returning guards that come back to us year after year. That's because it's just a wonderful place to work. We have a great team environment here. And, so as young as 16, they can start with us. The lifeguards here are certified through the American Red Cross, so they do have to take a course that we instruct. We're really lucky here in Northport that we have certified instructors to be able to train those courses to certify lifeguards and water safety instructors. That's super rare in an organization to be having both those certifications and our own staff to be able to rely on. So when lifeguards start with us, we have them do like a prerequisite swim test to make sure they're physically able to get through the lifeguarding course, and that's through the American Red Cross. And then, we put them through the lifeguarding course and get them certified so that, they can follow the same level of care during any emergency situations that could happen. But we also run a junior lifeguarding camp, which has been really successful. So we're running 4 sessions of that this year, and that's during the summertime. There's 2 in June and 2 in July. They're 5 days long, so those that are under 16 and looking to become a lifeguard, maybe the next year, or whatever it may be, they can actually learn the essential skills of what it means to be a lifeguard, how to do CPR, how to give first aid, and they come out of that course, out of that camp with a first aid, CPR, and AED certification that's valid for 2 years. So really is useful for them, to have that knowledge and education on how, to give first aid or, do CPR, use an AED in any emergency situations. And then those campers that join the junior lifeguarding program, the hope and the goal would be for them, to want to work as a lifeguard the next year when they are old enough to join the team, which would be really awesome.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to throw a kind of a bone at you guys, both of you, because I didn't mean to put you on the spot with Nairmore, and what I'm kind of blessed with is the fact that you guys are specialists in what you're doing within the city. So can you talk a little bit about what your jobs are and where your focus is on because not everybody is in the know of everything that's happening within the park and recs system, right? There's different parts that are moving. Just like real estate, you've got commercial, you've got residential, you've got leasing, you've got all kinds of different things. We're not all prolific at all those things. And I can say that across the board for what I do for a living. I can't count on you guys at Parks and Rec, as vast as you are, to be ready to answer every question across the board. So my apologies to both of you for doing that, but I thought you did an amazing job.
No, you're good. And I will tell you, even if we don't know maybe the details of what an individual is asking, we do take it very seriously that we want to be informed. We want to be in the know. And we want to have those conversations with people to get them to where they need to be. So definitely no harm, no foul there. Talking a little bit about what I do. And it's really hard, John, when you ask us this question, because and I'm sure Lindsay's thinking the same thing in her head. There's so much. How do you put it, under a certain umbrella? I can tell you. So I oversee a team that works at 2 different community centers. So the Morgan Center and the George Mullen Activity Center. And in those community centers, we have health and wellness programs. We have recreation-based programs. We have drop-ins that take place all day long from morning until nighttime, utilizing basketball gyms and utilizing fitness centers and utilizing our recreation spaces for reservations and rentals. I have a reservations team that does all of those rentals and reservations. So community gathering opportunities, birthday parties, baby showers, weddings. We have weddings at the community center. So we see sort of all stages and celebrations of life for those different items there. And then we also have, the caveat, we have camps and we have all of our events that we do. So Freedom Festival, Poinsettia Parade and Festival. We just wrapped up our egg hunts this past weekend, Trick or Treat at City Center. Some of our really big events that we have going on and our signature events that the Northport community really look forward to every year. My team is able to work through those items as well. Movies on the green, concerts in the park. It's so hard to sort of categorize into one grouping what we do because it can be, teaching a child how to read over the summer at summer camp versus hosting a 10,000 person event. And I really think that talks the testament of all of these being impactful, right? So the smallest to the biggest, everything that we do, I really think has an impact on the community. And we really are trying to focus on what the needs are. We do our community needs assessment every year. We are a CAPRA accredited organization, which means we really try to hold ourselves to a high level of service. So we have SOPs, we have guidelines. Everything that we do has a purpose for us to achieve that highest level of success. And with Northport's growth, like you mentioned, we have to move just as fast. And we're not necessarily growing in terms of number of FTEs, but we are expected to make sure that we're living to that level of service and really hitting the service index that we have here in Northport.
Well, I'm glad you brought it around the way you did, because you reminded me Ellie's baby shower. was at the Morgan Center.
There you go.
So that was a little over 7 years ago now. So
wow.
that
Crazy.
to bring that full circle and to you still make me feel guilty here because I asked you the question, but you highlighted something really cool, is that you were able to navigate the question. But your focus is really on 2 activity centers that are amazingly busy. And so that tells us a whole lot about our park system in general. It's sort of set up as a business flow. And people, I don't think, relate that to Parks and Rec. I just don't think, and I really didn't look at it as categorizing the individual parks and then having leadership over them. But not every park requires that. But those activity centers, and it's funny because we talk about activity centers within the structure of a city. Well, our parks department has 2 major activity centers within that too, and they're not shopping. They're truly activity centers. So, Lindsey, or do you have anything else to add in, Shelby?
No, like I said, it's hard for me to put sort of everything under there, so I'm sure I probably missed a few things, but overall,
you did a good job.
I think you have a good idea. So
yeah. And go ahead, Lindsey.
Yeah, so I'm the assistant aquatics manager for the aquatics division. So within the aquatics division, we have 3 different parks, as you will. So War Mineral Springs Park, the North Port Aquatic Center, and the Atwater Splash Pad. So within those 3, I'm really within the operations of all of those. So between, just the aquatic center and the War Mineral Springs Park, that's over 250,000 visitors that we have through our gates at both those, together at those locations. So making sure over 250,000 visitors, and that doesn't include the Atwater Splash Pad. So we are busy and, we are keeping safety a #1 priority, making sure that we're able to provide a safe experience, and a fun, clean, enjoyable, and memorable experience. And that, like I said, that number doesn't include the Atwater Splash Pad. And, that splash pad is extremely busy as well. So, between the 3, we are rocking and rolling with programming and different events and stuff like that. So, if you come to any of the facilities between the, the aquatic center and the springs, the staff there, they're certified. So the lifeguards have to be certified over at the War Mineral Springs and the aquatic center. And, we have on top of that, pool operators, and they're also certified. So they have to be aquatic facility operators. So, there's a lot of extra education and training and understanding that goes on behind the surface that some might not notice. When someone looks at a lifeguard, they may think they're just, sitting watching water, but there's hours and hours of training behind that. And so making sure that we're on top of training and certifications and, making sure that we're able to provide the best service to our community is really our goal within the aquatics division. Absolutely.
I've been doing this, I think I'm going on 9 years now. And I love it when I learn. Every time I do something with staff, I got the Frank Lamas of the world who just teaches. We've got Chief Morales, we've got Chief Titus, and the rest of them that come on. We've got commissioners who come on, and we learn. And I think the biggest thing to take away from this conversation, notwithstanding what people would say, oh, he's got talking points. Yeah, well, I had talking points because those are the things that the community needs to know about. Mm-hmm. Those are essential parts of being a Parks and Rec system that's dedicated to the consumer, which is us, the taxpayers. And everything we just highlighted, doesn't it go directly to the taxpayer who is looking at whether it's through a youthful eye or a senior eye? All of these things we're talking about is a direct impact to and I'm a real estate agent's going to say this out loud, property value, because the community that we're in, the involvement that our public works department, our parks and rec department has, our fire department, our government as a whole, our police department, those are all standards that we all hold high and dear when we talk about them. We just don't like to pay for them. and I joke about that and I laugh about it because it's true. But the beauty is you guys kind of have a blind eye to that with some constraint because you're still trying to stay within a budget. And that's the challenge that you guys face as a division of our city, is that you're still trying to provide all this for a targeted market, our consumers, which is our citizens, and yet trying to maintain a budget at the same time and stay within the compliance of not raising taxes. And that's the leverage points. And I don't know how, I don't want to get into budgets and stuff like that with you guys, but all those play a role in what you guys do, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And if this was a 2-hour show, John, we could get into some budget information.
I know, but I kind of left that alone because we're at about a 4-minute part. So.
No, in a grand scheme of things, so we're preparing fiscal year 27 budget right now, and it is a constant exercise for us to look at the costs and balances of what we're doing and making sure that they are in alignment to what the taxpayers' needs are, right? So we try to keep costs extremely low. I mean, looking at scheduling of facilities, looking at staffing models, looking at free programs that, need offsets of revenue-based programs. It is a constant flow. And, I'm very happy to state, nationally, parks and recreation agencies should really have around a 25% cost recovery. Here in Northport, we are well above that. We're closer to a 50% range in our cost recovery and what we're able to do. And it's very methodical. So there is a lot that goes into having that. We want to make sure that we have those offerings to the public when needed. We have those that have elevations for programs. And Lindsey can speak to it as well from Devon's perspective. It's a constant sort of ebb and flow of making sure that we are in alignment with what the needs are. So it's very much true the way that you say it.
Yeah, and I think on top of that too, I was gonna say, I think on top of that too, I think it's really important that we touch that. The goal is never to create a financial barrier from anyone joining a program or anything. So if that is the case, I would urge residents to ask about different scholarship options and such like that, so that, we do want everyone to be a part of our programs and events and experience our facilities.
So I'll post this, Northport Parks and Rec just put it up. Our 25 impact report is posted at northportfl.gov and Parks and Recreation. So that, go to the website, visit the website. You can answer a lot of questions by doing that. But if you can't find it, you can actually call. And we've posted that number. And please, if you have a concern, you guys, the Northport report, I've used that. It works extremely well. And it really makes an impact on getting things done. Or at least getting things in the system that work. And if you're currently working with the staff, I would highly encourage you to stay in that lane. Not that I'm telling Andrew what to do. I'm saying that to anyone. Stay in the lane that is appropriate, because you'll get more done staying within that. You may not like the answers. I'm going to go back to everything that I've ever grown up to know. I ask questions about certain things, and I may not like the answer, but you know what? I have to admit that the answers make sense at the time. You may not like it, but the answer is the answer, and it may be the only one that staff has to give. I've questioned Bob Evans' management at times, and that was when I was 18, and they're still here. So guess what? Obviously they're doing something right, and they're still here. So they're a lot different than, and I jokingly say that, but it matters when you do the right things and you're still relevant, you're still here, you're still adapting to everything that's coming at you. And I think that's the most important part, is to stay relevant, stay active. And that's what you guys do. You're trying to find ways to get things done. Grant writing, trying to figure out budgets, trying to support the community in every turn. Again, I just don't think we're going to make everybody perfectly happy, but I think the attention that you're giving to the Parks and Rec system overall has been extremely good. And I know that because I've traveled enough and looked at what other communities have, and they're not as strong as what we are. They're just not. There may be some out there that I need to go visit, but I think you guys do a bang up job, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
and
thank you, John.
I look forward to having you go back on, and I kind of want to hear how a lot of these events evolve after they're done. I think getting some of the youth maybe to come on board, maybe a new lifeguard and another lifeguard to come out and give like a 5-minute overview of what it was like to start and what it was like to be around and teach and engage with the community that way. I think it would be really cool to see some of the youth action too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And really, Andrew, thanks for being involved. Please come back and get involved across the board. We're here every Monday, and I'm going to resume Fridays here shortly and really amp things up. And again, I really just want to thank you guys for being part of the show today and the live stream and getting the word out. You guys do a great job.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
John.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.